Well, good morning. There are days when you're all ready, hours and hours in advance, and then just as you want to go online, everything happens at once. The postman arrived and then the laptop crashed. But here we are now, so we'll crack on with Elevenses. It's Wednesday the 14th. No, it's not. It's Wednesday the 24th of February, isn't it? Today's news, what have we got for you today? The heavens, the crib notes have also failed to transfer across to the laptop in its little crash. I don't know quite why that is. I will work that one out in just a moment. Right, so from highly organised, it's all gone horribly wrong this morning. But hey, it's gone remarkably well for a year now, so one off. I suppose it's acceptable. Right, so what have we got for you today? Well, basically, out comes the sun and out come the bikers. Group got fined for COVID violations. I'll kind of have a quick talk about that. I'll explain why you can't ride recreationally just yet. The DVSA say no rider training till April the 12th at the earliest. I'll run over quickly the survival skills plan with which I intend to help people get mobile as best they can and as quick as they can. And we will also look at two new bikes that are in the news, one that you've probably heard of, one that you probably haven't. And I'll finally look at some airbag news as well. Right, so, okay, stay with us for the next few minutes while I just try and sort myself out. The photos that I had intended to get synced over to the laptop seem not to have appeared either, just to make things nice and complicated. No, for some reason they've not appeared on the laptop. I have absolutely no idea why that is. Right, okay, so we'll crack on without. Right, so what's in today's stories? Well, basically, out comes the sun, out come the bikers. And on Sunday, a group of riders were out in Hampshire and they were pulled up by the local policing unit and found to have been travelling along the A272 near Petersfield, which is a popular ride-out route for motorcyclists. Unfortunately, they had headed down that way from London. You probably know that there's a well-known biker cafe on that particular road too. They announced all this on Twitter on Monday, Hampshire Police, and they said that the riders had all been fined for COVID restrictions, and basically said their statement said no reasons for being 60 miles from home, so they've been issued with fixed penalty notices for COVID breach. Fortunately, it's the only story that I've seen of riders breaching the lockdown restrictions, which do require us to stay local. But it has been interesting to see the response on social media. Now, earlier on in last year, when we were locked down, general sort of tone of the messages was actually against the bikers. This time round, it seems to be rather different. A lot of riders asking what harm does it actually do. So does Monday's announcement by the government, the long-awaited announcement about the roadmap out of lockdown, actually offer many changes? Well, the answer to that is, at the moment, no, you can't go for a recreational ride. The main restriction, which is stay at home, is a legal requirement, and that remains in law until at least March 29th, and be aware that that date could change if virus numbers actually start stop going down, or maybe even go up again, because by that time, of course, schools will have been back for 3 weeks. So right now, the law still says that you can only leave home for an essential reason, and you must stay local, which basically means within the village, town, or area of the city in which you live. Now, There is nothing to stop you taking the bike for a journey, so long as it's an essential journey. So that would basically mean traveling out to get medical supplies, off to work if you can't work from home, or to buy essentials such as food. But longer solo rides and ride outs with other people are still strictly off the menu. So no 100-mile round trips to bike cafes or fish and chip shops. As the group above found, you can and possibly will be pulled over by the police if you're found to be driving somewhere without a reasonable excuse, and that means you could well be issued with a fixed penalty notice. £200 for the first offence, rising to a maximum of 6,400. So it's not small beer. As of Monday, March the 8th, the requirement to stay in place remains local, but you could meet one other person out in an open space. So in theory, you could drive to your local park, for instance, and just meet somebody else who's ridden there. But the implication is that you shouldn't ride together or as a group. That is likely to change, but again, I emphasize that it all depends on how the virus numbers come down. That's likely to change on Monday, March the 29th, when the modified version of the Rule of 6 returns, and then you can meet in an outdoor spot and with up to 5 other people. And the implication is that you could go riding to get to your open spot. I'll update that as guidance becomes clearer. Incidentally, neither the Coalition of Motorcycle Organisations, COMORG, nor its successor group, the National Motorcyclists Council, which I happened to talk about this time last week, has yet managed to produce any guidance, even though they've had several days to do so. Right, Nigel and Nick have both said good morning. Good morning to you guys. Good to see you here again. Right, so as I said, a bit of a technical hitch this morning. For some reason, the photos which I sync over to my laptop failed to arrive. I'm not quite sure why that is. So we've got no photos to go with today's story, which is a bit of a disappointment because there's a couple of good ones in there. I might try and put them up online later, or at least give you a link to the story. So, right, what's happening? Well, the DVSA on the issue of the lockdown, they reacted promptly, so they obviously got some forewarning this time. But basically what they said was in line with government roadmap announcements. Driving and theory tests will resume no earlier than 12th of April. It said the DVSA is continuing to work closely with government and provide more information as soon as we're able to do so on other tests, lessons and training. So the implication there is training schools should not restart until 12th of April. So as yet, no joy for all those thousands of riders who've been grounded by an expired CBT. The most reliable source for information through the pandemic has been from the Driving Instructors Association. And yesterday they basically said they're waiting clarification from the DSA as to specific plans, but they hope to have more news soon. As of yet, I haven't got anything. Right, so what am I doing about all this? Well, it's been months and months since most of us have ridden last, and we've all been waiting patiently. Everybody's going to get twitchy throttle hands, but I'll be trying to offer you some help. There'll be some riders who'll just go out gung-ho and you know, good luck to you. But if you do feel that you need a bit of assistance, I am here to help. I know that some riders already have contacted me saying they feel a little bit uncomfortable after so long off the bike. One girl, through a combination of bad luck and lockdowns, hasn't ridden for 2.5 years, and I'm going to try to do some things that can give you some assistance. The first thing is to say I'll be offering some free Facebook webinars. Now these will be quick and short and free, as it said in the on the tin there, presentations on specific issues. The first one I have already scheduled for Friday at 7:30 p.m. UK time, and that'll basically be a quick how to check your bike over after it hasn't moved for several months. And we'll look at some basic riding exercises that you can also do, very simple ones that you can take away and try out for yourself, just to get you back into the swing of things if you're feeling a bit short on confidence. I'll also be offering a riding refresher. Now, this will be a slightly different from my normal course. Rather than having lots of instructive content, it'll be a reassuring ride. I'll take you over a mix of roads, different riding scenarios, everything from sort of urban area to rural roads, and basically the idea will be to build up the technical riding nature, and if we have any specific issues, then we'll stop, talk, and hopefully correct them. So basically, you tell me what you want from that course and I'll try to organize it for you. Right now, of course, I can't offer training either, and I'm waiting for dates and to work out exactly when I can come back. My guess is probably from the announcement that non-essential businesses can start if you can't work from home on Monday 29th, and we can travel on Monday 29th. I think I can probably start Monday 29th. I'm not bound by the DVSA rules, but I will update you on that. However, what I'm not doing at the moment is taking advanced bookings, but I'm basically asking for anybody who wants to know about a course to just drop me a line. You can do that via the email. That's the easiest way to do it, from my website, survivalskills.co.uk, which you can see behind me on the where is it? It's on that side, isn't it? Behind me on that side. Drop me a line through the contact form there and I will get back to you, and I'll put you on the waiting list, and basically I'll sort people out in the order that they contacted me. Right, so don't forget the free seminar on Friday. Right, okay, so moving on. 2 bikes on the news. Mike Roberts has said, morning, you need a hammer for the laptop. Well, I could certainly hit it with a hammer this morning. I don't know why it suddenly decided it was going to fall over, and why the photos haven't synced over. I have no idea. Right, first bike you probably haven't heard of. It's a CB350 RS. Now, I would have shown you a photograph of it, but I'll declare an interest straight away. I used to own, well, I still own actually, a CB250 RS, which I think is a lovely little bike. I owned several of them as a courier. I put hundreds of thousands of miles on them. I've always liked singles, and I'm quite happy pottering around on a low-powered bike. I don't always need sort of my 70, 80, 90 horsepower 600s. So does the CB350 RS hit the mark? Well, it's a slightly sportier version of the CB350 silly name, the Highness, which I looked at some months back. It's still powered by the same 348 air-cooled engine, which quite honestly I would be quite happy with an air-cooled engine, much easier to deal with than a water-cooled motor. It's counterbalanced, fuel injected, but the downside is it only makes 21 horsepower. On the other hand, the peak power is way down at just 3,000 RPM. So the 5-speed gearbox will probably be rather redundant. It sounds very much like it will be more of a competitor for the Enfield than sort of the Kawasaki Ninja or something along those lines. It's basic frame, right way up forks, twin shock rear end, cast wheels, ABS on the single discs. The real difference is it gets new color scheme, new LED headlight, and rather bizarrely, given 21 horsepower, you also get traction control. I'm not quite sure why, frankly. Styling wise, I rather like it, though I think it looks more like the RS, less like the RS and more like the old CB250 G5, if you remember that far back, as it's a sort of a rounded tank style. Also weighs in a rather porky 179 kilos, which is a good 35 kilos or so more than the old 250. The bad news is you're only likely to see it out east. If I've done my conversions right, though, it would actually retail in the UK for around £2,000. If they could bring it in at even close to that price, I suspect it would sell. Right, okay. The second bike, which I also can't show you due to the laptop glitch this morning, is a big off-roady adventure bike. It's not Japanese, it's not German, it's not even Austrian, it's certainly not Chinese. In fact, it's the Harley-Davidson Pan America. That main name may be a mild poke at Honda's Pan-European. I don't know. Motorcycle News got all excited about it anyway, and they said to read, the Pan-America isn't just one of the most advanced Harleys ever, it's arguably one of the most advanced adventure bikes ever. And they said it has the potential to knock the crown off the GS's head. Well, if the figures are to be believed, it's certainly very un-Harley-like in the engine department. 150 horsepower at 8,750 RPM. Even more, the Harley-like torque of 94 foot-pounds arrives at a very high revs for a Harley of 6,750. And the reason for that is the new Revolution Max 1252 engine. It's short stroke, over square design, complete contrast to the Cruiser long stroke engines. And to get through the ever tougher emission regulations, it also uses variable valve timing system. The electronics are certainly a long way away from the conventional Harleys. You get hill hold control, you get cruise control, cornering ABS, lean sensitive traction control and riding mode. So if you're one of those button pressers as you ride, you'll no doubt be very happy with that. And if you want to upgrade to the special version, then you get tire pressure monitoring and semi-active suspension thrown in for good measure. And if that's not enough, you can always opt for the £600 adaptive ride height. That actually drops the bike by 5 centimeters when you come to a standstill. And given that the seat height is a stratospheric 890 millimeters, or if you're more sort of inside leg person, that's 35 inches. The other interesting design feature is that the engine is basically the frame. The front subframe, there's a mid-frame and a rear subframe all bolt directly onto the engine, which is stressed. And the idea is that if you do happen to damage your pride and joy, you can bolt on a new bit. And MCN says no costly write-offs for a 5 mile/hour drop here. Well, just wait till your insurance company get on the job. I'm sure you'll find that they can find a way to write it off regardless. Personally, I don't think it's as nice looking as the Bronx, which was the almost ready but naked bike that you may recall was cancelled back in August as part of Harley's major restructuring plans. But it does appear to share the same engine right down to the heat shield on the rear exhaust header. And that may mean, speculating here, that the Bronx isn't quite as cancelled as we've been told. Because it would frankly be strange if all that investment in that engine only appeared in one bike. Remember that more and more manufacturers are going the platform route and building multiple machines around one engine and chassis. How much? You're probably wondering about that. MCN are suggesting the starting price will be around £14,000 with the special model retailing at $1,550, and that is bang on KTM 1290 Adventure R and BMW 1250 GS Adventure territory. The base model Harley is actually slightly cheaper than either of those two bikes. So it'll be interesting to see if Harley can dent German and Austrian bike sales. I have my doubts, but there we go. Right, okay, don't forget you are watching Survival Skills this morning. Kevin Williams here with Elevenses. Set a reminder, you can catch the show every Wednesday and Sunday at 11, and normally I will have media that you can look at to go along with the stories. Today I had just a bit of a PC glitch and it's all gone horribly wrong, as they say. Right, okay, on to the next item, which again I had a photo for you, but you'll just have to use your vivid imaginations. If you can picture a black gilet with a Ducati logo on it, you pretty much nailed it. Ducati are the latest manufacturer to jump on the airbag wagon with what they call their smart jacket. It's actually a vest, and it's equipped with an airbag, and it's said to be for the safety of every motorcyclist. It basically uses the Dainese D-Air airbag technology, which is lanyard free and operated by an onboard electronic control unit, and that is able to detect sliding, high siding, rear end collision and impact with another object. And basically, as soon as it detects anything untoward like that, it kicks in and triggers the airbag, which inflates at high speed. This then wraps around you and covers the protected areas, or where although the Ducati bump doesn't say exactly where those are. I'm sure you can find out fairly easily. The vest has got a 26-hour battery life in use and can be recharged via any USB power source. The big plus is that it's described as light and practical, and it can be folded up. If you've seen some of the other airbag jackets, I would say that they are pretty bulky, and sort of taking them off and putting them into your bike luggage may require you to have a fairly substantial kit of panniers and things. It's also said to be versatile because you can wear it either over or under existing garments. Although I suspect if you're towards the large end of the sizing chart, you might have trouble finding one big enough to go over the kit, but it will certainly go under. Interestingly, one thing Ducati did say was that it's as protective as 7 level 1 back protectors. So that's trying to give some kind of quantification to just what it can do. Now, I would say that, first of all, trying to understand what a level 1 back protector can achieve is mission impossible, because of I'm trying to make sense of the specifications for the impact tests. And it's also worth pointing out that level 1 is the lower of the 2 airbag back protector standards. So, but it at least gives you some kind of idea about what that airbag can do. Interestingly, there's no mention of EN 1621-4 2013, which is the standard for inflatable protectors. Ducati says that the vest continues its commitment to the safety of motorcyclists, which is fair enough, but there's a rather more dubious claim that the vest guarantees protection for the rider in the event of an accident or fall. Guarantee. I'll wait till I see that in the terms of sale till I believe it. And of course, it all comes at a bit of a price. The jacket costs a fairly eye-watering £579, though there are no subscription costs once you've bought the jacket. Some of the other airbag jackets I've looked at recently do come with a sort of an annual subscription. Should you be unlucky enough to use it, the smart jacket cannot be reset by yourself. You have to take it into an authorized dealer. They will inspect it, they will reset it for you, and that will cost you a cool €249.95. I don't know why they didn't round that up to 250. Right, okay, so what have we got? Cheryl has said hi. Paul has said, I'm told there are issues with the D-Air systems and garments containing them being returned to the factory for servicing, as the gas cartridges are considered restricted items that most carriers will not transport. He says you can't see that situation has gone on for too long. It seems surprising it's only just arisen. That's interesting, Paul. Thanks for adding that. Right, why did I leave airbags to last, or the price rather to last? Well, because piece of news that's come out of Spain. The AMM, who are the Mutual Motorcyclists Association, I won't even attempt to pronounce the Spanish version of that, but basically it's their riders' rights organization. They report that the Spanish Traffic Authority is raising the possibility of mandatory use of vests or jackets equipped with airbag technology for riders in Spain. And it's been compared basically with the law that brought in the compulsory use of a helmet. Now, that's something we accept fairly widely today. There aren't, although there are still hardcore bikers who reject it, most people don't even think twice about putting a helmet on. And the AMM have launched a survey where they're asking Spanish riders whether they agree or disagree with this suggestion. There are a few issues here, I would suggest. The first one is whether or not adding another layer of clothing over or under an existing protective kit, or even building one in to a jacket, is actually very practical in a hot climate. Now, Australian materials scientist Dr. Chris Hurren, who you may remember is somebody I've interviewed here on Elevenses. He's also one of my co-presenters on this year's Shiny Side Up tour down in New Zealand via Zoom. He's addressed this point when he's been testing garments for the MotoCap clothing standards, and they come with a comfort index which basically allows riders in Australia, where it does get pretty damn hot, you know, similar to parts of Spain, very similar climates in some ways, to decide whether or not that clothing will fit their usage pattern in the midsummer. As Chris points out, there's little point producing a garment with a lot of protective ability if the resulting piece of kit is actually too hot and too heavy to wear in hot climates. A further question, this is raised by Motorcycle Minds, which is sort of a rider think tank kind of website run by Trevor Baird and Elaine Hardy. They ask, if this becomes law in Spain, would it become law for touring riders too? The problem there is, if it does, it could deter touring visitors from heading into Spain. They might stop at the border and look at Spain and then decide not to chance it. And of course, there will almost undoubtedly be some riders who don't actually read the rules and head off into Spain without any awareness that they should be wearing an airbag jacket. You know, for example, that applies to headphones in Spain. They are illegal. And the other factor that comes to mind, of course, is the cost. We've just seen how much the Dainese system sets you back. Now, you know, given that motorcycling is often a way into personal mobility at the budget end, you know, for young riders and also for the less wealthy, you're already asking people to wear helmets and riding kit generally. And if you throw the requirement to put something like an airbag jacket on, that would be actually a fairly major imposition on them. Of course, if you happen to be riding that £15,000 Harley Davidson I talked about a few minutes ago, then throwing another £500 or £600 at your riding wardrobe probably isn't an issue. But it could be an issue, as I say, for younger riders and certainly the less affluent. Anything else to say? Well, the other thing is that airbags essentially kick in after it's all gone wrong. So I'm sometimes frustrated when a trainee, for example, says, sorry, can't afford the training course I was interested in, so I've just bought a new helmet that cost me £500. Okay, fine. You know, by all means, pick and choose the helmet that you want. Go for one that fits. There's a debate to be had about whether you benefit significantly from that extra investment in the top of the range model as against a you know, sort of perfectly adequate mid-range model. After all, they all pass the same tests. And there is some evidence that suggests that helmets are now so good that by the time you get a fatal head injury, you've probably already got fatal injuries internally. They'll just kill you a little bit slower. And the helmet needs replacing. You know, how long's your helmet life? 3, 4, 5 years, depends how much you use it. But you know, training course essentially lasts forever. You know, hopefully anyway, you'll get something out of the course which you can use all your time. Like a helmet, an airbag will probably have something of a limited life. Technology will move on very quickly, and one of the risks of you know, early investors is that they'll spend a lot of money on a gadget which isn't actually quite as good as something that will come along in 2 or 3 years. Who knows? I'm speculating. But I do think that sometimes that our rush to wrap ourselves in technology is something of a not a dead end exactly, but a bit of a red herring, and it should be part of an integrated approach to rider safety, which includes some investment in better biking. Right, and on that note, I think I had better leave it. I seem to have racked up another 90-minute show. Cheryl has said good morning. Did I say good morning to you, Cheryl? I think I did actually, because Paul had also commented on the airbag story. So, right, hopefully I'll get the photos up and running at some date. Just a couple of things to say. I will be running a live webinar on Friday at 7:30 p.m. as part of my Get Back to Biking assistance to riders. That'll be free for all to pop into. Don't forget the new newsletter too, which is available to all to sign up for. I'm hearing more and more people are struggling to get my posts on Facebook, either because the settings appear to have been changed internally. So that's one way of bypassing Facebook altogether. I'm also dual posting the skills posts and the tips posts onto my coffee page, so you can head over there, and also if you want to, you can always drop me a supporter coffee, and that'll open up access to the huge and ever-growing archive of old Facebook posts, which are all neatly indexed. There's also the videos on Survival Skills UK on YouTube. I suggest that people go over there and view those at least before they go out riding in 4 or 5 weeks' time. Anything else? Online coaching still available. Online presentations to clubs and groups. I've got a number already set up for the next couple of weeks. I'm still happy to do more as we get ready to get out on the road. I'm more than happy to help any club, group, organization, or just a few guys who are gals who are friends. Off you go, sort one out, and I'll come and talk to you virtually. Right, okay, so yes, that's everything I wanted to say. Apologies for the slightly late start and the lack of graphics in the show. I have no idea why they didn't appear. It was all set up to go, and then the laptop fell over, as I said. All right, okay, thank you very much indeed for your time, and we'll be back on Sunday with the next show. Stay safe out there. Bye for now.